Hi, welcome to the video. It's Byron Clark from CareerSidekick.com, and in this video we're going to walk through 11 seemingly small resume mistakes that can actually cost you a lot of job interviews without you realizing. So if you're not getting interviews, or if you're just thinking about working on your resume or starting your job search, this should definitely help you. If you are getting a few interviews but you'd like to get more, this should also help you. So let's jump right into these 11 mistakes. Number one is relying on buzzwords and soft skills, especially near the top of your resume. And I see this so much with younger job seekers, entry-level job seekers. I did it myself on my first couple of resumes. When I look back, I see phrases like fast learner, highly motivated, energetic, hardworking. I had so many on there. Excellent team player. So many words like that, and they're really meaningless to hiring managers and recruiters on your resume. Here's the thing. Here's the reason why. On your resume, employers are looking for evidence that you can come in and learn their specific job and have a high chance of succeeding in their job. They want to hire somebody who's going to succeed. And while they do want somebody who's highly motivated, energetic, hardworking, all of that good stuff, they're going to assess all of that in the job interview. They're going to wait until the interview to even try to measure that or even think about that stuff. And the reason why is that none of that matters if you don't have the skills and training to do the basic job duties. So if it's a software development job, on your resume they're looking for, do you have certifications, training, background, education, past projects, past jobs that demonstrate that you're going to be able to build software for them with the tools and technologies that they've listed on their job description. And then when you meet with the hiring manager in the interview, or when you get on the phone and talk with that recruiter for the first interview, they're going to be thinking, okay, does this person sound highly motivated? They're going to ask you questions about why you want this job. Why did you choose to apply? How did you choose this career? Or why did you choose this career? And they're going to measure all of that secondary stuff there, but they don't care on your resume. I can tell you as a recruiter who's looked at thousands of resumes myself and recruited on at least 50 positions, probably over 100. This information is just stuff I gloss over. These soft skills, like examples that I've listed on this slide, I just skip right past them. It doesn't matter on your resume. It's not going to get you the interview. Let's keep going. Mistake number two, not having your employment history begin on the top half of page number one. So as a recruiter, your recent employment history, the bullets in particular, are really the first place I look. I want to see what you've done most recently. What was your work in your last role or your current role? And so not having that visible on the top half of page one of your resume is a big mistake. It makes me go digging for it, and I get impatient, and then I'm going to spend less time reading it when I do find it. Not a good thing. So make sure it begins on the top half of the first page of your resume. Let's keep going here. Here's an example of some of the things we talked about. So this is one of my old resumes, and there are a couple mistakes here that we just discussed, and I wanted to show you a real example of it. So first of all, my employment history does not begin on the top half of page one. So already I'm doing myself a big disservice by making hiring managers go digging for what's really most important to them. And even if so this is when I just graduated, this resume, but even though I just earned my degree, they still want to see any work that I did. So even if you had an internship or a part-time job or a volunteer position, or even if you did some work for yourself, you built a website for yourself and tried some of the things you were learning in university, they still want to see that stuff. Real work experience is the most interesting, most compelling thing you can put on your resume, and it's the first place employers are going to look. So I made a big mistake here by not having my employment history visible on the top half of page one. And then if you look at my skills section, it's just all these soft skills that we just talked about that are not going to help me win any interviews, to be honest. This was a really, really bad resume and a bad skills section. I didn't know what I was doing. So you see these things like team player with outstanding leadership skills, very reliable and always punctual. It's almost hard for me to read this now. And I just know hiring managers and recruiters were going to look at that, and they would be looking at that and thinking, okay, who cares? Maybe in the interview I'll try to measure that stuff, but right now it's the last thing I care about. I guarantee that's what they were thinking. That's what I would be thinking now as a recruiter. So avoid these mistakes. And now let's continue to look at the rest of these mistakes here. Number three, Too much text on your resume, especially big paragraphs, without any numbers, data, metrics, and real results. So just explaining everything with words, but without any numbers and real results and examples, that's a mistake. Too many long paragraphs and big blocks of text instead of bullets and short sentences. So this is a formatting issue, and if a hiring manager opens up your resume and it's just these massive, massive paragraphs, they're not going to read it. They're a lot less likely to read it. They're a lot more likely to move on to somebody else's resume or maybe skim really quickly, but it's going to stop you from getting interviews. Here's an example of what not to do. You can see these are massive, massive paragraphs here. And a hiring manager, or as a recruiter myself, I know we're just going to quickly skim it, maybe look for some numbers and data. That's the other problem here. There are no numbers, metrics, data. So it's all text. It's huge blocks of text. No bullets to break it up. You know, bullet points were invented to get people to read more. It's a way to break down information into little bite-sized pieces and get people to stop scrolling quickly through the page and stop skimming and actually read something. So take advantage of that. I mean, bullet points have been around forever now, but at one point it was an invention, and it was created because people do skip large paragraphs, and bullets are a way to grab the reader's attention, make their eyes go right to that point, and really pay attention to what you're communicating. By the way, if what I'm sharing here makes it sound like recruiters and hiring managers are extremely impatient, and you might be thinking, gosh, this is crazy. It sounds like you won't even spend 5 minutes on this resume that I've spent hours on. And the truth is, a lot of times we have 100 resumes waiting to review, or 20, or whatever it is. And you're right, a lot of the time, if the resume doesn't look like a good fit for the position you've applied for, we're not going to spend anywhere near 5 minutes. I'll spend about 10 seconds skimming and deciding whether to read more or not. So while I won't decide, yes, you should get the interview in 10 seconds, I've certainly in the past, I've decided this person is not the right fit for this job in the first 10 seconds, and I've moved on. So it is that important to grab attention right away, make a good first impression, and you want to avoid formatting like this in order to do that. Here's a much better example, much better formatting in the professional experience. Good short bullets, it's well spaced, it makes you want to read. It's not intimidating at all, it doesn't look stressful or painful to read, it doesn't look like it's going to take forever. It's little bite-sized pieces that are easy to consume. The hiring manager is much more likely to read all of this. And then you can see there are great metrics down there too. There are all sorts of numbers and data, percentages, improvements, improved store compliance training to 99.3%, just really specific stuff. The more specific you can be, the better. And these skills are good too. It's specific tools and technologies over on the right-hand side with the bullets, and then the middle column and the left column in the skills and knowledge section are specific keywords and specific hard skills that might be found on the job descriptions for the jobs you're applying for. And that's the type of skills you really want to list. The hard skills, the job-related skills and proficiencies that are on the employer's job description. Let's keep going here. Mistake number 5, inconsistent formatting. So I don't care if you have your headers font size 38 or 42. I don't care if they're italic or underlined, but pick something and stick with it. Same thing for dates. If you have one past job listed with just the years instead of months and years, great. That's a perfectly valid decision on your resume. Talked about that in other videos. It's a good way to hide gaps in employment maybe. But then all of your past jobs should do the same and just list years. Or if you're writing out the name of the month, like if you're spelling out September, if you choose to put months, do it for all of them. Don't start using numbers for the months on the next position down in your employment history. I know this sounds basic, but I've seen it a lot, just being inconsistent, and it looks careless. It looks like you didn't really put a lot of effort into completing your resume before sending it. Number 6, big mistake to start your bullets with responsible for. Employers want to know what you actually accomplished and what you did, because that's the best way to prove that you'll be able to come in and accomplish things for them too. If you were hiring somebody to paint your bedroom and they said, oh yeah, last week I just painted 2 bedrooms in this same color that you're asking for. Here's a photo of how it turned out. you're a lot more likely to hire them. They're saying they just did exactly what you need them to do now. So you want to deliver that message to employers whenever you can. And when you just say responsible for in your resume bullets and your work experience, you're basically saying what your last boss told you to do. You're saying, well, my boss assigned this work to me. It's not impressive at all. It doesn't really show what you accomplished. So the best way to overcome this mistake is to start your bullets with a verb. Completed blank, led blank, things like that. Brought on 25 new customers per month in Q3 2019, something like that, rather than responsible for bringing on new customers and conducting sales calls. That would be like a bad bullet because it starts with responsible for. So start with a verb. Mistake number 7, having an objective section on your resume just screams outdated, screams to hiring managers that your resume is outdated. It's an old thing that you should stop doing. If you don't know what to put at the top, I would recommend a career summary. And I've put a URL here of an article with some really good, I call it a resume summary, and people call it a professional summary, a career summary, whatever you want to call it, but it's a brief paragraph. I recommend 2 to 3 sentences right at the top of your resume under your contact information and header. And it's going to be about your career accomplishments and what you bring to this next employer, which is a lot more effective than having an objective, like looking to obtain a position in blank. That's a waste of space, and employers know you're looking to obtain a position like theirs if you apply for their job. So check out that URL if you don't know what to put at the top of your resume, or if you have an objective section right now where you're saying that you're looking to obtain a certain type of position, because that's not helping you get interviews. Number 8, mistake. Thinking tailoring your resume takes a long time or is difficult, and then skipping it because of this belief. It really does not take long. You just need to look at the job description right before you apply. You want to create a master copy of your resume that is written for the general type of job you want, and then just before you apply, you open it up, you look at the specific job description you're applying for, you look at the keywords on there, and you add content to your resume just to make sure you're including as much as possible from their job description while being truthful. And then you reorder the content so that the things they mention first on their job description, those things that are most important to them, are also mentioned first or higher up on your resume. So you're adding content, you're reordering content. That's the general idea. And the more you do it, the better you get at it and the less time it takes. But a lot of people make the mistake of just trying it once, getting overwhelmed and thinking this isn't worth it. And it's like, well, yeah, it took you 30 minutes the first time because you've never done it, but it takes me 5 minutes, and you could get to that point if you stuck with it, and you'd get far more interviews. Number 9, thinking your resume is your life story rather than a highlight reel of key accomplishments, skills. It's really not a place to list everything you've ever done. It's a sales pitch or a piece of, it's like a marketing pitch to the employer for why they should interview you. So everything on there should be there for the purpose of impressing the employer for the type of job you're applying for right now with them. It's not your life story. It's really about them as much as it's about you. Number 10, and this is kind of what I just hinted at, mistake. Number 10 is thinking your resume is 100% about you rather than the truth, which is it's about what you can do for an employer in their job. It's your sales pitch for why you'd succeed in their role. It's about how you can help them. That's how to get a ton of interviews, is to flip how you're thinking about it. And this might be kind of a new concept to you because your resume is, most people tell you it's your story. It's really your proof that you can help this employer. And that's how to get far more interviews. Okay, number 11, mistake. Spending equal time throughout your resume in terms of writing, editing, tailoring. So if it's a 2-page resume, you spend half your time on the first page, half on the second. Really, it's the top half of page 1 and then beyond that, page 1 in general, that's going to get seen the most and get read the most. And it's where recruiters and hiring managers will be quickly skimming and judging whether to keep reading or not. So you've got to grab their attention there. I would recommend spending 50% of your time and effort and energy on just the top half of the first page of your resume. That's how important it is. Myself as a blogger, people tell you to spend half your effort. If I write an article online, they say spend half your time on the headline. Even if it's only 8 words, maybe I write a 1,000-word article, they say spend half of your effort on the headline, because if the headline's bad, nobody's going to click, nobody's going to care, nobody's going to keep reading. And your resume is kind of the same. If your intro paragraph, if the very beginning of your employment history section where you list your most recent work, if that's not tailored to the job and interesting, and if it's not filled with real accomplishments and hopefully some metrics and data, if you at all possibly can, then the rest of your resume is not going to get read anyway. So I would spend around half your time up there on just the top half of page 1 of your resume, and then page 1 in general. Okay, those are the 11 mistakes that you should look out for. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video.